What we're going to study today is called position tradings inside of our system with our indicators and doing a breakdown here. So basically position trading, these trades are normally 1 to 3 days, but they can run for 14 to 21 days. And these are great trades to increase your HODL position. Okay. What means is accumulation. And what most of you do here is you buy a coin at a low price or some whatever medium price or sometimes a high price. And you see your profits go either up and then back down, or if you bought in the wrong position high, you see your profits go down and then back to even. So what this right here does is it teaches you how to trade your HODL positions and get in and out, buying the highs, buying the lows, selling the highs, and doing the opposite of what you guys do, which is buy highs, sell lows. And this will be able to get you where each time you're buying in and out of a trade, average is about 10 to 100% gains. And you can do this about 5 to 10 times a month, all depending on the coin. And during that time, that basically, if you're getting, let's say 10% every, 3 times a month, right? That's 30%. If you're doing that in a year, in 10 months, you're looking at 360 to 400% gains. Now you also keep in mind while you're doing this, every time you sell and rebuy, because you're using profits to rebuy, you are actually gaining coins, meaning that the coins that you're buying, now you have a bigger bag. So when it goes up another 10%, it's going up 10% your original plus your gains. So you're making 10% on gains. And this is how you compound your way up to the 3,000% gain mark, guys. So accumulation and compounding is the way that everybody who has wealth makes money, right? So if you're not paying attention, educated, or doing your research, compounding your money is how you become a millionaire. Okay, so let's go through this system real quick, and we're going to show you the very simple ins and outs of this, keeping it, real simple to understand. So on the Ethereum side, we're going to take a peek here. So what this basically is real simple. So we trade these position trades basically on a daily, right? And this big purple box here is simply a daily trend, meaning the trend is in a downside on the daily, and it lets us know here. So these are our indicators. They tell us that the trend, right? We tell people trade with the trend. The trend is your friend. So this is basically right here. You can see that the trend is down here. Now, there's a lot of opportunity here to make money in between here, and this is what we do to take advantage of it. So the breakdown here is very simple. During the daily downtrend, you're looking for our indicators to tell you where there is a 4-hour downtrend with a 2-hour downtrend. And these are the trades that we take advantage of and work over for huge gains. So here's a 4-hour and a 2-hour. So this red box is where the 4-hour trend is down. This yellow box is where the 2-hour trend is down. And then in between that trend, we have certain sections here, which are closed sections, right? And you see these little black boxes. These are potential closed areas. And once these closed areas activate and the trend right here changes to the upside, and if we have a closing section, one of these black squares in that area, then we would close out our trade at that time and call it a day. And that's how we operate. So looking this over here, very simple to get into these trades. And it always starts with a red moon on the daily. Now, once you have a red moon on the daily, you have a red trend on your 4-hour, then the next move is to enter your position correctly. And we're going to show you how that works here. So in this position here, here's what we have. This line here on your indicators is orange. Sometimes I make that green. On our volume moon indicator, this line right here is blue. I normally make that red, but this is the indicators. When you upload your VC Crypto Nation indicators, these are how they come. So this orange line here is called the buyers. And what that is, it's the buyer's volume. This blue line is the seller's volumes, right? And how it works is very simple. When these start to go in a certain direction, you can see volume increasing. They're telling you that the buyers are bringing in a lot of money. Here, the buyers are slowing down, but the money hasn't slowed down because the buyers that are buying a bigger percent to make up for the weakness of the buyers that are disappearing. But how to enter this correctly is here. The correct price action on a daily short confirmation. Seller's volume line breaks down while the buyer's volume line also breaks down. So here you can see the blue line is pushing up, and right here when that blue line breaks down, confirmation would be the orange line also breaking down in the same direction, meaning not going up towards it, but actually coming down. This would trigger an entry point for our short. This is how it begins. Very simple. That's the beginning of the short that we would actually take there. So now you can see here, we have our red moon. We have our confirmation of a short, and then the only thing that we're waiting for to confirm or get in that entry is basically a daily red trend, which triggers here, and then we have this massive short that we take advantage of. And as you can see here, it works over really well. Now, over here, I want to show you as we kind of like have this short lined up, there's sections in here of this trade that it continues to go forward, and you can see here there's sections of where you can actually trade in here. And when the volume, buyers and sellers, starts to change direction, there's certain areas that we would get out of this trade here and there. And then when it resets itself up, which is the daily RSI, see the daily RSI? When it crosses back down, you can see right here with the daily RSI crossing back down, we have another short opportunity. Now, it doesn't look like these short opportunities are a lot, but remember, you're on a daily. So just one of these candles is worth about 10%, right? This is where you can sit here and there's one, this is May 23rd to June 5th. So here's two sections where you could have made 20% on your money, an extra 20%. And then you have a section like this, which basically comes in. This section goes for about 64%. So imagine saving yourself 64% by selling your position and then buying back your position to get those gains back. So it's very easy to make your 3,000% gains here. All right, so now let's get into the trade here, and let's pick it up here. So now how it works once again is on your daily. So here you have a green moon that comes in. Now this cancels out the trade, which would have been canceled out in here somewhere anyways. But here's your daily RSI heading up, and we're going to restart this trade after this big trade resets, and how did this trade actually begins again. So now the daily RSI is pushing up, bounces, starts to come down. You can see here there's a little dip trade that you can make, and we'll cover that a little bit later. But as you move forward, here's how it begins, right? How do we get into our trade? So we have our daily downtrend. We get our 4-hour moon right here. And then once again, the buyers are orange headed down. The sellers are blue headed down. Notice how we just went over the confirmation that the sellers and the buyers are headed in the same direction with the RSI heading in the same direction. This would trigger a trade here. Now, the most important thing here on the trade is that the very first confirmation is that we have a 4-hour volume trend right here. And here you have a 2-hour confirmation of your RSIs heading south. So 2 and 4 hour are headed down in this section, right? This is the power of the 2 and the 4. So as you move forward in our system and you start to learn position trading, the next phase of trading is basically called day trading, which is trading trades within the position trading. And then eventually there is scalping and sniping. So as you get your skills better and move forward, this is the base of everything that you do and how it's done. So here we have a 2-hour RSI crossing, a 4-hour crossing with the RSI, which means we can then go to the daily and look for our 4-hour red moon. Once we have a 4-hour red moon, we push up, and then once we see the sellers and the buyers committing to the downside with the 4-hour RSI committing to the downside, this is where we get our trade. Very simple. Now the entries of those trades are done the same way as always, and we'll cover that in a second. But how it's done there, once all these confirmations come in, you would go up here and you would find your entry point just like you do on every single trade, and then you would hold this position as it moves down until you get the confirmation of a sell, which is based on the 3 hour. So this is the position you're in here. So let's just say that you get into a position here and you get in at the bottom of this candle, and here when you get the red moon, it's going to be a lag, meaning that you would get the confirmation on this next candle, which you would wait for this blue to come down, which would confirm on this candle somewhere, and there's a no trade zone in this area here. And what would happen is basically as you confirm all this, that you'd get some type of entry in this point here, right? So now, in this section here, I just want to show you kind of like you're going to be getting into this candle, into this trade somewhere on this candle here, because you have to let the confirmation happen right there. So when that breaks down, you're going to know on this candle. Now, the importance to understand is that leverage, right? So you can see here that this is a 12 or a 13% candle, right? So in this candle, there's 13%. So if you're using a 10x, it would be 10 times that, which means that there's 130% on this one candle, right? So this is why when you get your entries here, it's very important to find your entry correctly, because you're working with stop losses and medium volume. So even if we're using our 10% on our position trade here, right, or our 20% here, you have to be very careful here because you have a big spot here. So that's going to be the candle that we're getting into, and as you can see here, we already have a line here that there's an entry, a negative entry point in here, or a selling point in here, right? So we'll dig into that a little bit more, but just say that anywhere that you got in that candle, somewhere in the middle, right? Let's go down here to this closing candle, which would happen here. This particular trade yields about 41% with a 10x leverage, 410%. With a 20x leverage, 840% or 820. So this is how you can hodl some huge money on the way down and increase your bags on your favorite coin, right? Shorting is way better than longs, especially in this market right now. And you have to learn to short so that way you can see the longs a lot easier when this market reverses. This is a bear market, right? So that's how you make these huge gains. So let's repeat what we went over here. Entry, right, is the daily headed downtrend, a 2 hour and 4 hour, right? 2 and 4 hour RSI, just like any of the other trades that you're going to learn, right? So daily trend is down. 2 and 4 hour together create this trading zone. This is a trading zone. Now, once the moon shows up on your daily, right? So once you get the 2 and the 4, right, inside the 4 hour on the down zone, right? That's just a hugely better opportunity. Your daily trend is down. Then you look for your 2 and 4 hour to cross. Once you have that trade, you then move to your daily moon. Once you get a daily moon, you're waiting for it to basically cross over from the top, and that would confirm after the next candle, which would be around about here. The RSI is heading down for you. That would create an entry point somewhere on this candle. Now, that's how easy it is to make this trade. Now I want to show you confirmation of basically the difference between a buy and a sell, right? So let's slide into here, and these are two of the same signals here, and a lot of times you have to pay attention to what is, right? So remember, the signal that we're waiting for is this one here, which we went over earlier on that other trade, right? It's basically when the buyer's line and the seller's line are basically in the same direction. So here we get a daily red moon, right? It's the price action daily short confirmation. Seller's volume line breaks down. You can see it breaking down. You would get confirmation on this breakdown somewhere on this next candle here, okay? Now, during that time, you need the buyer's line to actually be breaking down at the same time, and you can see that here. This is an entry to our short. Now, if you see here, moved slightly to the right, there was a incorrect entry, right? And you don't want to make this mistake. You get a red moon and it pushes up. Your buyers are already headed down, except when your seller's line finally breaks down right here, The problem is your buyer's line is actually headed up, right? They need to be going down together, right? So if this was headed down here and this confirmed right here, this would be the entry to the short. But because this showed you on this candle here, it was headed up, that means that when this was going sideways, that this is not a short, even though this was sideways, because this is headed up, right? So that's how you can tell this is not a confirmation of a short. Those two things are opposite. As you can tell over here, breaking down, breaking down. Okay, that's the difference in that, guys. Don't make the mistake and jump a trade because you see or you want to guess that that's going to happen. Allow that to play out. The point of having a position trade is that you can allow everything to confirm, get confirmation, and then make your entry price happen and keep it very, very simple. So that's how you confirm your entries on your trades, right? So now, once you have an entry in a trade, the closing point, right? Once you have the entry here, right? So you can see the 4-hour RSI coming down this entire time. It gets to the bottom here, right? You can see the bottom here. Now, when it crosses over, right here, see how it crosses over? When it crosses over, that is the end of the trade. Once it breaks up here, if it crosses over in a dead zone. So see the 4-hour RSI. Once we're in a trade here, the 4-hour RSI, we ride down, and we're going to ride that all the way down until it pops up here. And when it pops up, if this scenario that we're about to cover to close is happening, then you would close that trade on that particular moment. So if you haven't hit your stop loss, if you haven't triggered stop loss out or hit your take profit mark, which you probably shouldn't have hit there, this position trade, because you shouldn't be setting your profits on a position trade to actually hit. So your stop loss should trigger you out somewhere up here. But just if it doesn't, how this works is real simple. When the daily RSI crosses up, we would get a confirmation right here that it's crossing in this section here, right? That's the daily crossing in that section. In that section, we're going to cover why you would close. And I want to cover a couple different things here. So when we close this trade out, we move forward. As you can see here, we have another 2-hour and we have another 4-hour down, right? Now in position trading, we need the RSI on the 4-hour to confirm, right? So what is our position trade, just to cover it? It's the daily trend south. Which is that purple line. See that big red box behind us? That's the daily trend south. So this entire section here is daily trend until this section here where it goes green, right? See red, green, right? So here, once the daily is headed south, the trades that we want to make happen within the 2 and the 4-hour RSI headed down with the daily, right? So position trading, you need the 2-hour and the 4-hour headed down with the daily RSI crossing down. You don't have that here. So even though there's a trade here that makes a good amount of money, right? That's not a position trade for us, right? That's not our trade. That's more of a day trade that they would make money in this trade here. So that's for day trading. Now for us, we wait for our 4-hour RSI to get to the top, start to cross over, and right here you can see that we have our daily crossing over again, which is this box here. Right down below, the RSI crosses. We have a 2-hour, a 4-hour, and the daily cross. This is our trading zone once again. This is where we would take advantage of this trade. Now the difference here, guys, as you can see, you don't have your red moon here, right? You have your green moon. But what we're doing here is the main aspects of this trade, right, is the RSI on the 4-hour headed down, the 2-hour and 4-hour RSI heading down with the 4-hour, and then all we need from there for confirmation of trades is basically the volume heading in a downward position. So you can see right here we're getting that downward move, right? So this right here is the breakdown of the trade. So if we go over here again, same thing here, you can see there's a green moon here. When that volume breaks down, there's another trade here, as long as the 4-hour RSI is going down, and the same thing here. 4-hour RSI going down, there's a trade here, there's a trade here, And there's a trade here with the 4-hour RSI. So this trade right here on the daily position is all based on the 4-hour RSI. I said the daily RSI, and the 4-hour and the 2-hour RSIs all in the same position, right? Now, when you have your moons confirming volume changes, then you can see right here how great these trades become. So they become bigger trades that you can get into and work yourself over. Now, as we move forward here, this is the decision of how to understand what trades you're in, right? So breaking down the trading zones here. Now, these zones here with that green moon, we're taking advantage of the RSIs because we have what's called negative volume here, right? So we're working over these last, what they call hoorahs, right? Meaning that it's the end of the, it's coming to the end of this daily trend in here, right? That's kind of what's happening here. The moon hits here. This is the big trade. It bounces, the RSI finishes up, takes advantage of these next moves here within that zone. Now, they're not as great as this move here because that's the moon trade, but these are called the last hoorahs, which are the bounces and retests, right? So the bounce, the retest, the bounce, the retest, right? And then after that, you can tell once you get into your green moon and you get a retest out the way, you know that you're coming to the end of your particular move to your downside. And this is where in another video we'll be talking about how to pick up your long position off of this, because you can see here red moon comes in, just kind of like everything here. Red moon comes in here, we come down, we get a green moon, right? Which would normally say that we're going to look for a long, but we allow it to play the hoorahs, meaning the 4-hour RSIs bounce, and then there's the retesting of that. We get a short move down. And then as it bounces up, where most times guys would think here with the green moon that this would be leading into a long position, and you would be thinking about playing a long position here. But because you're in the daily trend still, you can't go for a long position. You have to stay with the daily trend. So that's the difference between what you're going to see here and versus here. So this is the big paying attention point of how to find your reversals, right? When does it become a long trade versus a short? Here, it is a green moon showing a pump, right? Meaning the pull down, the bounce, the pull down, the bounce, and then the big dump, right? And this all happened because even though we had a green moon here, we were still in the red trend. Now, if this red daily trend, the daily trend would have turned green here somewhere in this point, then we would have seen this moving up. But because it doesn't turn, and then we go back to a red moon, and a 2-hour and 4-hour RSI with the 4-hour RSI, right? Boom. Now here you can kind of guess that you're not going to get your reversal because when this daily RSI starts to come, it's coming down on the green moon. See the green moon, but your RSI gets to the top right here, and then you can see the volume start to disappear. Right here you can tell that you're going in the opposite direction. The daily RSI bends and then it comes up. Now this is normally a good area where you would say to yourself, this is probably the bounce to a reversal, but you cannot jump the trades, right? So this is, even though this looks like it's a bounce to a reversal, we still have to get our confirmation, which is the end of the daily trade, because the daily trend didn't end there. Even though this looked like a long position, you can't take that position long because the daily is still red. See that red, this entire red area? So you would allow the RSI to bounce, and then when it starts to head back down, you basically set your position up for a downward move, which happens here. Downward move, we get a red moon, big move. Same thing here. Green moon comes, RSI is headed up. We let the RSI get to the top, it starts to break down here. So we play the RSI down again, and it might cross over early, it might not, but we take advantage of it. And then finally when it bounces here, it's in the same scenario where it looks like it wants to go long, finally gets to the top of the RSI here. And you can see when it gets to the top, even though the RSI is at the top, our trend went green. See the daily trend go green? So in this position here, when the daily trend goes green, normally it's going to keep running for you, right? But here it was finishing out its 2 hour and 4 hour RSI, right? With the daily RSI. So 2 hour, 4 hour, and daily RSI were still together. And you can see here your volume is joining them on the last pull down, right? Now, a lot of times you don't have to take this trade. This will be something more in a section where day traders would take in this trade. This is where you would be setting up to get into a long position, right? And your long position would basically be this, right? So let's walk through that again. Okay. Red moon. Well, most important thing. Daily trend is red, right? During the daily trend, right, we are trading the 2, the 4, and the daily RSI. So anytime the daily RSI is headed down, we go look for the 2 and the 4 hour RSI to join it, right? So this is your trade. Ready? To do your trade, you need the daily RSI headed down. You then get trade confirmations on a 2 hour and a 4 hour. So once the 2 hour heads down and joins the daily, the 4 hour joins the daily. That's your trade, right? Let's walk through that again. Daily RSI crosses down, okay? Confirmation of the trade you're doing. The trade you are doing is the daily trend. This daily trend is headed down. Once we have a daily trend headed down, next we find RSIs. When the daily RSI crosses down, that happens. We now go look for, once the crossover comes in, you are looking for the joining of the 2 and the 4, right? And most of the time, the 2 and the 4 are going to precede the daily, right? So daily trend headed down. A 2 hour RSI crosses down. The 4 hour crosses down and joins it. Then you go look for your daily. The moment you see your daily crossing down, that is a trade, okay? Let's do it again. Daily trend is red. You look for 4 hour trends headed down. See, 4 hour trends. If you have the 2 hour in that section, right? This is a trade. As soon as the 4 hour confirms, you take the trade. 4 hour trend. Number 1, 4 hour trend, right? Write it down. 4 hour trend. Look for 4 hour RSI crossing south. Look for 2 hour RSI joining it. Confirmation of entry, 4 hour RSI heading down, right? Those are your things. 2, 4, daily, down during the daily trend, right? Here, 2, 4, daily, down. That is your trend, okay? 2, 4. Now these yellow boxes are the 2 hour RSIs. The red boxes are the 4. Here we go again. 2, 4, daily, down. You get a red moon in the daily here, the crossing. That's going to give you a bigger short at that time. Now, when you get this particular section here, notice that you have a green moon, which would normally indicate a reversal on the daily. Green moon hits, it pushes up. The volume then breaks down. Now, the thing here is that while you're watching this, even though there's a daily moon, there's a daily trend. So you need the daily trend to end so that when the daily moon makes a bounce and then runs, it can make its run. So there's a bounce, it comes down, the daily trend does not change. It stays as a short and continues on and then becomes a big short. Same move here. Moon on the daily says there's going to be a move up to a reversal. There's a move up to the reversal. It bends down, right? 2, 4, daily. We're taking that daily trade. Comes down, gets out of that trade, the 2 and the 4 end. It starts to go back up. Now, as it starts to go back up, this time we can see that the daily trend ends. So now it's going to be the RSI. We're going to get a 2, a 4, and a daily RSI to head down again, which is the last pull down. And now that the daily trend is gone, on this pull down, when this RSI starts to head back up, we are going to be looking for, especially when this 4 hour ends, we're going to be looking for the 2 and the 4 to end, and then the daily to end right in here. And this is where you would start looking for your long positions out of a short. So those are your longs. And we're going to cover this in a different video, but that's how that happens. Now notice the green moons only mattered because the daily trend went away. Okay, so trade that you're doing, guys, is very simple. It's a daily red trend. You wait for the 2, the 4, and the RSI to go in together, and then you make your move. How do you find those? No matter what has to happen here, the 4-hour RSI has to cross. So I put all my alerts on the 4-hour RSI because you'll get an alert before it crosses on an email. And how you do that is real simple. Go to your RSI, click right here on the right. You're going to put add alert for the RSI. I delete everything in front of the RSI, and I leave this right here. Stochastic RSI, Ethereum on the daily. See how it says daily right there? And then I put here once per bar, and then I say create, right? So now every time Ethereum's daily crosses, it's going to alert me before it actually crosses. So then I can go look, see how it alerted me right there? I can go look and see if my 2-hour and my 4-hour RSI are already headed down, right? My 4-hour, my 2-hour already headed down, and that's going to get me into the position where I'm going to be looking for those trades to happen. I'm going to take advantage of those short trades in those positions because that's what I'm looking for, right? So once those crosses happen, those put me in those sections. So that's the trade. During a daily trend, a red daily trend, 2-hour, 4-hour, 4-hour daily, boom, short. 2-hour, 4-hour daily, short. 2-hour, 4-hour daily, short. Once the daily trend changes back to green, these become longs. You're no longer position trading in this position because these are day trades to the upside. So you would be going the other direction. Okay, guys? And we'll cover a little bit more in there and keep it real simple. Now, the one thing I want to point out here is always volume is king. The thing about waiting for all these confirmations for the daily trend is that the daily trend normally comes into play once the volume is already negative. That's why when you watch the volume is king video, it's already happening for you here. So you can notice here this daily trend, we have negative volume already, and that's why that trend is here. And then over here, the daily trend comes back again. And what do we have? Negative volume. So when you watch those videos, understand the daily trend is coming in because the volume is already negative. And you can see that's pretty much happening all the way across the board. And the thing about the negative volume, right? It only matters when it's going long, right? So you see here, you have some positions for some long positions. The volume gets green. Those are long positions. And we'll cover that in a different video. But that's kind of like just to give you a hint of what you have in there and the difference of your trades. But you can see here all the trades happen the same way. Long positions, here we go again. We get another daily red trend here. What we'd be looking for is the 2 and the 4-hour headed down with the 4-hour RSI. So you can see here the RSI is headed down. The 4-hour and the 2-hour hit, but the daily doesn't have a red trend until here. And then so we let that bounce. And then the next thing would be right here when you get a RSI crossing down with the 2-hour and a 4-hour. So this would be your trade right here. And then basically letting this play out, comes back up. What are we looking for? The 4-hour to come down. At this point, it's coming down, but we don't have a daily trend. So we would wait that out. Red moon hits, giving you, now the red moon is just a benefactor of telling you that things are moving a lot faster than you see. And when you have that red moon, the red moon can help you override your red trend entry as long as it's all doing what it's supposed to do, right? Which is this. Okay, red moon can override or get you into an early trade on a trend. If the daily trend isn't there, but you get a red moon and the buyers and the sellers are in position doing what they're supposed to do. So 2-hour RSI is yellow, headed down. 4-hour RSI is headed down. The daily is already headed down. You get a red moon. The buyers are headed down. The sellers are headed down. So confirmation would happen on here. And then you would be entering the trade in this zone here. And you would be riding this trade until that 4-hour or daily RSI starts to cross again, which is here. Which means this trade here doesn't look like much, but just in that little section there of entries, we would have got about 12 to 13%. So we're doing a 10x on this. So it would have been about 120% to a 20x, which is about 240%. So that's why it's important, guys, to pay attention, right? So what does a red moon do? The bonus to the red moon is if the buyers and the sellers are in their position and they're doing what they're supposed to do on entry, that will override the red trend, or basically let you know that the red trend is on its way and you can get into a trade a little bit earlier before the red trend hits, giving you an extra solid entry position for this trade. All right, guys, so that's how you enter that trade. Replay that, go over it. Now what I want to cover here is what these boxes are, or how to close a trade. So to do that, we go to a 3 hour. How do you close a trade? You go to a 3 hour. Very simple. Right over to your 3 hour. And all it is real simple. Is when the 3 hour is what you're going to use to kind of like guide you on when you should close the trade. Because you're going to close the trade when the 4 hour or when the daily RSI curls up, right? Now, while you're waiting for the daily RSI to curl up, you're going to have these sections here of what's happening down here. So when you have a 3 hour, right, this is the 3 hour area. And you can see here the 3 hour RSI pulling down here. You can see the 3 hour RSI is headed up. So I want to show you right here. So when you're watching the 3 hour RSI, and this is also good for day traders, and it'll be in the day trading video, but this is kind of way to show you where bounces are. So right here, you're in a short here in this section here already. So you see this, that's where so you're already in a position short right here of this move here, right? So your position short would have been, see how this white box would have been somewhere up here. So the position trade already happened somewhere right there. So that's already in a trade, right? Now to close this trade, you need very specific things to close, right? Meaning that you would watch the 3 hour RSI and you see it bounce here, right? The bouncing of the 3 hour RSI comes up. Now also, and we'll cover this on the entries on this trade, on the position trade, is that if you see your entry come in, you see your 3 hour RSI at the bottom, or if the 3 hour RSI is actually going up against you, you would hold off on your position trade until the 3 hour gets to the top and then starts to head back down, right? So that's what we call a checklist, right? The entry position is going to happen if the 3 hour RSI is actually headed down in your position, which would be in here or there, but that's kind of like the bonus to that, right? You want the 3 hour RSI, you know, in your favor when you're making your position trade. But normally here, once we have all these confirmations here, you're going to jump in, take a look at your 3 hour RSI. Here it was flat, it wasn't against us, so we would have entered this trade up here anyways, because the 3 hour RSI wasn't pointing up. Notice in that particular section there, it's not pointing up, it's flat on the floor. So when we went to enter this trade, we would have entered the trade properly because the 3 hour RSI was not against us. So we would have been fine on that trade. That would have been our entry. So we'd still be in the same entry here, but if this was pointing up like this, then we would wait to enter this trade until it came back down. Just a checklist on there, right? You want to always trade with that. So the normal checklist on your entries as always is the 1 hour, the 30-minute, and the 15-minute RSI in your direction. And on the position trade, you also add the 3 hour to your checklist, right? So 3 hour, 1 hour, 30, and 15-minute RSI in your direction. Okay. So now I'm going to put that line there. Very simple. That's our entry. Now, as we move forward, the 3 hour RSI, right, starts to bend up here and goes up. As it pushes up, right, this is a dead zone for us to trade, meaning that if we weren't in this trade already, we would wait for this 3 hour RSI to get to the top, and then when it crossed, we would go ahead and re-enter. Now, while this is happening, the 3 hour is heading up. If the 4 hour RSI bends up at any time that it's in this zone, then you would close this trade. The 4 hour does not bend in this zone, so you hold your trade, okay? You get through that zone. The 3 hour RSI comes down, starts to head up again, right? You see it heading up. The 4 hour RSI does not change position. It pushes all the way up. The 4 hour RSI does not change its position, so you hold your trade. Starts to come down. Here it goes again. It's pushing up again, right? And you can see here the benefit, the bonus of understanding your moons, right? So here you have a green moon with the RSI pushing up. You would consider closing if the 4-hour RSI joins it. That's a close. It goes back to a red moon on the 3-hour. Now you're back in a safe zone. So now when the RSI here is pushing up, you have a red moon, you don't worry about it as much until the green moon hits. Now you're back in that position where the 3-hour is pushing back up. The 4-hour RSI does not change direction during that green moon. So you're safe there. And then as it goes down, you can see that it hits again and it starts to push up again, and you're watching it again, but the RSI does not bend up, right? Now, just so you know, during these positions, if you're day trading, these are the positions that you'd be looking for re-entries, or let's say you didn't get the first entry, right? Some guys miss the trade and they're like, when do I enter? Well, you would let the 3-hour push up, give you a red moon, and then you would be re-entering this trade, right? And if you're here, right, and you get this green moon and you're pushing up, you would have to wait until you get another red moon, which is here, and then you would re-enter here and get into this trade, and here, that's your re-entry. Now, once this 4-hour, see the 4-hour RSI bend up there? The 4-hour RSI bends up there, and you can see the 3-hour RSI is already bending up. So once that 4-hour joins it right here, that's the closing of the trade, right? You would close right here, because now that 3-hour is headed up, the 4-hour is also headed up. You close this trade. So you'd close on this candle here, not this candle, because it's a lag. So it'd be this candle. Okay, you would close that trade because the 4-hour RSI and the 3-hour are headed up, and confirmation of the close, right? When's the final close, right? In case there's a last hurrah, as soon as you see the green moon. Okay, so if you miss the 3-hour RSI headed up, and then you miss the 4-hour RSI joining it because you don't have your alerts on properly, and then you look and you see that there's a green moon hits, and then you notice that the 4 hours headed up, the 3 hours headed up, you got a 3-hour green moon, you look, these two are headed up, 4 and 3-hour RSI are headed up, you're closing the trade. No matter what, you're closing the trade. So you'd be closing somewhere on this candle. Okay, guys? That is how you close this trade. You understand? How do I close the trade, right? So you close the trade when the 3-hour RSI and the 4-hour RSI are both headed up and there's a 3-hour green moon. That's full confirmation. Okay? 3-hour RSI headed up, the 4-hour joins it, 3-hour green moon, full confirmation. How do you enter this trade if you missed the first entries? You enter with the 3-hour RSI headed down with a red moon. That is position trading, guys. Very simple. That is the breakdown of position trading. Okay, so we're going to cover that right here, and let's go into this basics here. So first thing we're going to do here, guys, position trading, right? So what are the notes that we have for the position trading, right? Main thing is you start with a daily, okay? Daily needs a red moon. If you get a red moon, right, you look for a 2-hour, well, actually, you just go right to the 4-hour RSI crossing. 2-hour with it. Entry on daily RSI cross. Okay. That's the breakdown of the trade. Daily red moon, 4-hour RSI crosses, 2-hour is with it, entry on the daily RSI cross. And this should turn into the daily trend. Daily red trend. Okay? That is your short on your daily, right? This is a 10x to 20x leverage. To close, right? To close your short, you close when the 4-hour RSI turns up with 3-hour RSI and 3-hour green moon. Okay? So when you're writing this down, I would say joins. So when the 4-hour RSI turns up and joins the 3-hour RSI and the 3-hour green moon is a close. And that is position trading, guys. Very simple trade. This is the trade you run over and over. The daily, right? Red moon turns into a daily red trend. You're looking for the 4-hour RSI to cross. When the 2 hours with it, you enter when the daily 4-hour RSI crosses. So that's the entry, right? Now, that means that you're going to go entries on the daily. Now, that means go to entry system. All right, which is 1 hour, 30-minute, 15-minute RSI checklist, meaning they all go in your favor. Okay, meaning they're all headed down. Okay, 3-minute red moon and trend. That is the entry system. That is the entry system. On a position trade, add 3-hour RSI to checklist. Right? So the normal checklist, guys, you'll hear us say it all the time. Make sure you're trading with the 1 hour, the 30-minute, and the 15-minute RSI. Enter on a 3-minute red moon, red trend. Period. Right? That's your entry. On a position trade, add the 3-hour RSI to the checklist. So your checklist on a position trade would be 3-hour, 1 hour, 30-minute, 15-minute, 3-minute red moon, red trend. Okay? Now, when you set your leverage, you're setting your leverage to 10x, to 20x leverage, and you're putting your stop loss using your stop loss system, right? So your stop loss is set up the same way. Now, in these positions, if you're entering correctly, because you have a 10 or 20x leverage, that gives you more space for it to move without any issues, right? But we don't want to lose any type of money on our positions while we're setting up if we're entering correctly, right? So this means that when we get to these entries, we want to use a 10% stop loss on an entry for a position trade, right? Because you need to get better at your entries, right? And if it gets stopped off and you need to have to re-enter, you don't want to be getting in with a 20% loss. You want to get your re-entry with the 10% loss, because normally if it moves 10%, it's probably moving 15 to 20, right? So when you do get your re-entry, consider that extra 10 or 5% that you didn't get stop lossed out as the extra gains to make for your stop loss that you lost. Very important, right? So now, follow your stop loss system, right? So when a spot position gets to its position, meaning that when it gets to 15% profits, you move stop loss to 0. Right? So meaning no matter what happens from that point, you cannot lose your position. And that's what we're holding right now. If we find that we need to increase that, maybe move the profits to 20% before you move your stop loss to 0. That's something we might do. And this is all depending on your entries or what have you. But this is where you want to kind of stay. So minimum is 15. Max is 20% profits. Move your stop loss to 0. Okay, guys. Thanks for coming in. This is the position trade. And we'll be covering the next part of the position trade, which would be the entry part, just to confirm how to get your entries correct on this position trade and the closing of the position trade a little more in depth. But this is the overall basis of how to do this trade. Very simple. And let me go back over here to Ethereum so that you can understand. So as you look over Ethereum, we're going to go to our daily. And the way it plays out is real simple. You get a daily red moon, right? The daily red trend comes into play, right? And here's your trade. Now over here, same thing. Daily red moon. There's your move. Here you get a daily. Here's a red moon here, but you don't have the RSIs actually showing you that this is a correct entry for a short. So you wouldn't take this red moon as an entry, because remember, the buyers and the sellers did not go in the same direction. So because this is a daily red moon, you don't have confirmation here because this is incorrect confirmation. You wouldn't take this red moon as the moon to enter into a short. You would go till the next red moon when the buyers and the sellers are actually headed in the right direction. So make note of that. Just because it's a daily red moon doesn't mean it's a short. You need to have the confirmation that it is moving in the right direction and not an incorrect daily short entry, right? Write that down. Here, you get that moon. It shows a daily correct entry. It becomes a red trend. Very simple. Here, you get a daily red moon. The buyers and sellers are headed in the right direction. And then you get the red trend. Easy trade. Once again, slide over here. Here's your moon here. Now here, you get the red moon. The buyers haven't gone down yet. Here, the buyers and seller break down here, meaning your entry would be here. You get your early entry and your 2 and 4 hour RSIs. And that's it, guys. That's how the trade works. All right. So follow the directions. Go back, rewatch this video. This is your position trading using 10 to 20x leverage. Max is 20. The going rate is when you first start this, start off using 10x leverage until you master your entries, right? So once again, let me say it. Start off with 10x leverage until you learn to master your entries. Then you can move to 20x. How do you know if you're mastering your entries? If you're using a 10x entry and your stop loss gets hit, right? Gets hit more than 3 out of 10 times, right? If your stop loss hits 3 out of 10 trades, right? Then you don't know, you don't have your entry down. Do not move to a 20x leverage until you do not get stopped out on a 10x. You understand? You're allowed one 10x stop out on a 10 trade platform before you can move to 20. All right, guys? Thanks for coming in, guys. Hope you enjoy your trade. We will tighten up the entries to the position trade and the exits on the next video, guys. Have a great day.